All right, welcome back, everyone. So today we are going to be configuring our lab, and we are going to be working on WSUS, Windows Update Services. All right, what is WSUS? Well, it's Windows Server Update Services. Basically, it's a server that pulls updates from Microsoft, and then you can use it across your network to download those updates and then push it out to your systems. It gives you the ability to manage updates. So if there are certain updates you want to filter, certain things you don't want your servers to get, your domain controllers, that's its purpose. It pulls updates and it pushes them out, and you can have the ability to configure it based on your SOP, your policies, and so forth. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up my Hyper-V as usual. And I do have SQL running where we built it on the last time. We do have my domain controller sitting over here as well. And then I'm going to fire up WSUS as well. So I'll minimize that. There's one key thing since I'm going to be doing this differently. I'm going to tie WSUS with my SQL box. Okay, so what I need to do first, I need to go ahead and log into my SQL. Okay, so we configured this on the last time. So this is already joined to the domain and SQL is up and running. So I'm going to log in here. And while this is running, right, on my DC, I'm going to need to create group policies as well to push out WSUS later. And then on the WSUS box, we're going to go ahead and log in and start working on getting the system working. Okay, so this is logging in. While this is logging in, we can start on WSUS. So first thing we want to do is go ahead and install the role. Server Manager should pop up right here. So on the Server Manager, you can go ahead and add roles and features. This is a role and feature. So validate everything is good to go. 107. I need to change the IP address from my WSUS. So let's go ahead. Let me see my cut sheet. What is my WSUS? My WSUS is .27. So let's go ahead and fix this real quick. Since I was running DHCP, I want to just make sure that this is set so my systems know where to go. So 172, numlock, where are you? Right. 172.16.1.72, I believe. Did I say? 27. Oh, geez. 27. Right. 172. Uh-oh. And like that. 172.16.1.1 is my gateway. 72. 16.1.11 and 172.16.1.12. Those are my two DNS. I have not built the new DC yet, so I've been waiting. I'll bring that in later. But my box is set. I should be good to go. Let's go back here and let's fire this up. PowerShell real quick. Let's go ahead and do a test out to my DC just to make sure we have connection issues, because it's very important that you can ping the things that you need. So 172, that's 16.1.11. 11 is my DC. I should be able to communicate with it. Okay. And then according to my cut sheet, let me see what is my SQL server. 81 is my SQL server, so I need to be able to talk to that as well. So let's change this to 81. All right, so all right, good. So I can talk to the domain controller and I can talk to my SQL server, so I shouldn't have any connection issues there. Okay, all right, good to go. Now let's go to add roles and features. Next, next. Okay, this is joined, and as you can see, I have a 192. So I have two network cards on this box for my SQL. I am working on the wrong box. Excuse me. I need to be on WSUS. Sorry. So right here, we need to get this fixed. So we can go back or we can cancel out and just start again, just so we have the right IP showing up. Sometimes this take a little while. So what I like to do here, do a GP update. And let it run. Which realistically it doesn't matter, because as long as I have communication, it should be fine. But just for lab purposes, I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, so I can show you the right way. Over here on my SQL server, while this is updated, we're going to go ahead and fire up SQL, and I want to go to SQL Studio, so management. I'm going to go ahead and log in. And if you haven't seen the video for this, go ahead and check out the series where we did the installation of SQL Server earlier. And then on my DC, I'll be working with group policies later to push this out. So this is still updating. This is my WSUS that's coming online, and I'm trying to get into SQL Server as we speak to create an instance. I hope everyone is doing great. So Windows authentication, I'm logging in. All right, so under my databases here, right, I have basically all the databases that I need, right? As you can see, there's nothing created because this is fresh. All right. So what we need to do, we will need to do a new database. Let's wait for this to finish update real quick so I can make sure that we're on the right track. All right, so this should be almost done updating. Policy took effect, so my WSUS, let's go ahead and try this role again, see if it changed. Okay, there you go. So 27 shows up, and in here we're looking for what we call WSUS update, add all the features, and then we're going to click next. And by default, it normally brings over .NET with it. So right here you see 4.8, but I think if you need .NET 3.5, you can add and install them as well with it. Here we are going to be installing WSUS on a server, SQL server. So this is where I was saying earlier, I have my SQL server over here, and this is our database. It is fresh, nothing is new here, right? And I need to also create what I'm going to call this. I'm going to create a new user, and I'm going to call them. So by default, you should use service accounts, okay? You can do the manage service accounts and use these to create, assign these to your services, and let those accounts be the ones to play with your services. So you don't want to use the regular accounts, okay? Especially if it's your administrator, definitely not. Okay, so we can call this WSUS admin password never expires. We don't want this to ever change, right? And then we can set a password here. WSUS admin is fine. And then this is the guy that's going to be used to administer WSUS. We're going to add his account to domain admin, so he have the necessary rights as needed. All right. And then over here we have our box for SQL. So we're going to double check. So we're going to take this off. We're not going to do the database that it comes with. So we're going to remove the database and we're going to do SQL. And then we're going to go ahead. So this is where you want to store the updates into a location. And this is where I was talking about earlier. When you start, I have two drives. One is going to be my C. My C drive is almost full. You need to have a drive specifically ready or a platform to store your updates. So what I want to do, I have a drive that I need to bring online. So let's go ahead and find it. Where are you? So let's go ahead and bring this drive online real fast. All right, so since I'm using this feature, I can pull it up another way. So let's go ahead and go devices. Actually, not device. Let's go disk. And we're going to create, I'm going to click on that one and we can bring up anything that's here. So I should have a drive down here that's not being used. Let's see where you are. So I do have C drive right here, and this one right here needs to be formatted. I'm gonna call it data, NTFS. That's fine. And I need to bring this joker online. So let's go ahead and change the drive letter. Let's give it something called, since it's updates, maybe just put it on the U drive. Sounds about right. And I'm bringing it into play. So when I go back to here, this is the U drive. And that's where we're going to store our updates, on the U drive. So now when I come over here and it's asking me store updates in the following path, it needs to be a location. We're going to go here and I can say U/WSUS, right? Click next. All right, so now this is where it's asking me for a connection to my SQL server. So my SQL server, SQL, and it is SQL, the name right here, SQL-01. So I need to make sure I have that right. And then it was a default instance, so it was MSSQL. All right, so I never change it. And then we need to check connection. If the connection fails, then you can't talk or you're not communicating with the server. So it needs to show up right here that you have a good connection. That means so right here, fail to connect to the server, right? So the machine name and then the instance name. The instance was MSSQL. My server name is SQL-01. SQL-01, and it was Microsoft SQL Server. Let's see why. Network-related incidents. While establishing the server was not found or not accessible, verify that it's correct. Right, so few things can be, let's check this out. Let's see if I have something blocking. So my firewalls are off because I did have a group policy that I used to push all of those over. So shouldn't have any issues. Okay, let's check the IP address for this one. We'll go ahead and disable network 2. So that's 81. I'm sure we'll be able to get to 81. Can I ping from here to, let's see what's happening. 172.16.1.27 is the box. So I can communicate from over here. All right, let's check connection again to see if, because I had an extra NIC card on here, if I was given problems communicating with it. So I turned that NIC card off, and we're just going to try to see if we can connect. Failed to connect to the server, still the same thing, MSSQL. All right, so machine name / instance name to install the WS server. So let's check it out. Let's see what's going on. So let's minimize this, close this out. So what is my instance name? Well, everything here shows up. That is the name of my computer right there. I have connection. Server name is SQL-01. SQL-01. Okay. This is the name, MS SQL server. MS SQL server. So that we can try a few things. Could be a permission thing. So let's try to see this. If it will take. Sometimes you might have a permission thing on the instance over here that you may have to fix. So we can see what it is and what's going on. So let's check it out. So network related instance. Okay, so it's saying that need to verify the instance is correct and that the server SQL is configured to allow remote connections. Right there. This could be the problem. SQL server is configured to allow remote connections. So let's go to remote connections and let's do allow remote connections to this. And let's try to see what's happening. So let's change these. So it says do not allow remote connections to the server. This could be the first problem that we're having. And if you guys had this issue, right? So let's go ahead, select all the users. So we can say domain, and we want to make sure that anyone that's domain computers, domain users have access to the server right there. Okay, I'm going to click apply. So access to the server right there, those folks have access to the server. So good troubleshooting step. Sometimes these are the things that you might be running into. So let's check it out together. The server was not found or not accessible because the instance name is not correct. Well, we know that the instance name is correct because we double checked it earlier. So SQL-01 was the problem right there. And remote connection could have been the issue. So let's go ahead and double check again. All right, so we know the instance is correct. The server is configured to allow remote connections. Right? SQL network interface error. Connection string not valid. All right, so we can also double check a few things. Right? So let's go to SQL Server Configuration Manager and here as well. And we need to check out okay, so one thing I noticed right here, protocols, properties, right there, right? Name pipes is disabled. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see, I'm going to enable this. Okay, now let's go ahead and restart this service. So let's enable name pipes and let's go back because it's now having, it was an issue. It could have been the pipes. So we troubleshooted those. So let's check again. And these are little troubleshooting steps that are good for you to double check. So let's try something else again. All right, so the error is back again, and we're gonna keep troubleshooting. So one common thing I noticed that the instance is probably is asking specify an existing database server. So I'm gonna double check two things. We want to make sure that here under services the agent is up and running, which it is, and also the server is up and running, which it is. We check the protocols here too, and we want to make sure that is good to go. The only next best thing is to remove the instance name because we already know this is a server, right? So it's telling us to specify an existing database server. We're just going to click the server to verify. We know everything else here is running, so let's see if we can still connect now. Wow, there we go. There you have it, guys. So initially, it's all the troubleshooting we were doing. I think we overlooked this where it says specify an existing database server. We overlooked it. Well, troubleshooting is good. So successfully connected to server, this is what you want. Now, when you go back over here, you want to pay attention to your SQL server because once you go in and everything is good to go, you're going to click next, accept the default, right? That's really all I need. Click next. Right there, it's going to say specify if you need to restart. I'll click yes, I need to restart. And then we're going to click install. Now over here, it should be expanding. Once this is, once the database are being built out, you should see, we're going to keep refreshing this. You should see the WSUS database that shows up here shortly once this is complete. So we're going to let this go ahead and do the installation. I'm going to pause this so it doesn't take too long. And then I will return once this is completed. All right. All right, so we are back, and as you can see, the installation succeeded successfully. No issues with the install. All right, so we are good to go. Right here, you can launch post-installation tasks, or you can go ahead and click up there and do the same thing as well. I'm going to click close to close out this wizard, and then we'll just go to here, launch post-installation, and we're going to go through these tasks real quick that we need to configure. So configuration required for this, and it's actually going to populate everything that's needed. While that is here, we will need to do a GPO. I think I'm going to separate the video and I'll build a GPO later so you can see how we can deploy and push this package out as a GPO to all the clients once the configuration is done, because this is we're already at 24 minutes. I don't want to make the video too long just for configuration. So it's going through post deployment. Okay. All right, so there you go. Configuration required, installation succeeded, and that is good to go. That's exactly what you want to see. So that means this has been successfully installed and we are good to go. So what we could do, we can click on WSUS and we could go up here to tools, you can see that WSUS update services is now installed. We can go ahead and click it. Before you begin, it will tell you about the administrative stuff, but before we start, let's check out our database to see. Oh, look at that. So now we can see a new database was created over here, right? And this is your WSUS database, right? This database was created so that it can communicate. It can communicate with WSUS. So as you can see, this database, this table right here, right there. So as you can see, it is actually coming over from WSUS. So as you can see the user, so that means they're talking and they're communicating. All right, back over to WSUS. Let's go ahead and is the server firewall configured to access server? So we need to go ahead and run through the wizard. Can this connect to upstream server? And do you have, so I'm gonna tell you right now, the last time I ran this, it took forever. So we can try to attempt to do the wizard and we'll see how it goes. Don't want to join. So synchronizing from Microsoft Update is normally where you could go. If you had another WSUS, you'll synchronize from another WSUS, right? Use a proxy server when synchronizing. If you're doing this and you're setting up a proxy, you can configure it here. We're not, so we'll click next. Now this is the part where I'm saying it will take a little bit of time when we click start connecting. And this runs through and tries to connect to Microsoft, yada yada. But by default, I'm not sure if we can connect to Microsoft because unless my RAS is still up and running, to give internet access to this box. Let's see if I do have a RAS on here, so my gateway is set up to get you out to the internet. So let's see if it's still up and running. Okay, good. So my router is still up and running, so we shouldn't have a problem. All right, I'm gonna pause right here because, like I said, this does take a little bit to connect, and then once it's back, we'll start up again. Okay. All right, seems like we are able to click next, so let's go ahead and click next. Now you get to select your languages. For me, I just want English, and everything else I'll go next. Here you can select the products. So you have to spend some time going through this, honestly. By default, some things are clicked for you, but for example, in my environment, I don't have nothing running that is all Windows, right? Like everything Windows 7. Windows 7, we don't even use it no more because Microsoft stopped providing updates for those things. So like XP, nobody uses XP. But what it will do, if you ever bring one of these boxes or computer systems online and you had to connect it to it, WSUS will pull it in and provide updates for it. I don't know how it's going to pull Windows 7 in because Microsoft is not providing updates for those no more. So maybe you go all the way to Service Pack 3 and call it there. But you'll have to filter through these, as you can see. There's a lot of stuff here that you should go through. For example, Active Directory I'll probably use. I don't have nothing with Azure. Don't care for none of those. Those will probably take. Exchange server I'll go because I will be bringing Exchange online later. along with Forefront. So go through, see what else. I'm not doing nothing Azure. We can do security essentials. SCCM data packages probably later. 2007 Office, nah. But I would go with Office 16, SharePoint, all PowerShell I'll take. Don't really use Silverlight no more. Running SQL, it's 2022. Not gonna go nothing beyond there. And then I'm on Server Management Studio 19. Right, so I'll take that. SCCM later I will be bringing online, so I'll pull that in because that definitely needs to sync up with WSUS. I'm not doing anything virtual PCs, nothing Azure. Windows Admin Center, definitely I'll take that. Nothing Windows Live, none of those. Yeah, so that is those are okay for now. All right, so drivers, I want to make sure I get in driver set and updates. Right, so we'll synchronize those. Click next, and then you can set a time manually if you want to, or you can do it automatically. These are pretty much the days or the times that you want to maybe send out your updates. So you see where it says configure when this server synchronizes with Microsoft Update, right? You can set automatically, and I will do maybe in the AM, and I would say maybe 2 AM. Let's go with 2 syncs. All right, click next. And then this is where you want to go. You can set right here where it says your configuration is good to go. You begin the initial configuration, your initial synchronization, and then you click next. I can tell you what, pulling these updates will take a long time. So once I click next, I think this should be the closeout of the video. You guys get the gist of it. We did the installation, we configure it, we set it up, and then you should be good to go, because it's going to take a little bit to try to pull all those updates and find everything, especially if you have a bigger domain. So right there, begin, click next. So to configure, wow, it will tell you the next step that you need to explore, right? So all of these right here are things that you would like to work on next. Use SSL with WSUS. You can configure those, computing groups, assigning the group policies. All of these rules, you should take the time while it's doing it to actually click it, and it will pull up all the stuff you need online and point into the right direction of everything you'll need to do. So while that is running, these are things that you could be doing as well. Okay, and when you're done, you click finish. Thank you guys for watching this video. I think this is enough for your WSUS to begin the install. If you have any questions, please reach out, and we'll see you guys later.